COVID-19 and the impact on the country and the economy has been immense. DA leader John Steenhuisen has expressed concern over the decision by the United Kingdom to put South Africa on a red list following uncertainty on the number of COVID-19 infections. Steenhuisen says the blame should be put on President Cyril Ramaphosa for a slow vaccination rate. Well, joining us now to discuss South Africa and its image is the chairperson of the Brand South Africa board, Thandi Tobias. Ma'am, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you're currently hosting the 5th installment of the annual Nation Brand Forum, which is aimed, I believe, at addressing the country's economic reconstruction and recovery plan. There's probably no better time than now to talk about South Africa's brand and reputation. COVID-19 has no doubt exposed our socio-economic crisis in terms of inequality and unemployment. But perhaps let's begin here. How is the country's brand doing?
The country's brand is improving on a day-to-day basis. We have had challenges in terms of perceptions, and we are explaining the government policy and the government interventions to both investors and the public in general to ensure that we do not just think that South Africa is not achieving its goals, but to say South Africa is able to meet its challenges with vigor and optimism to ensure that we build a better nation.
So what are some of the challenges that you are discussing currently in this forum, and what are you hoping to achieve?
In the current forum, we are discussing the importance of making sure that this policy certainty so that people understand the policy regulation environment, but also to understand economic growth and how vaccination is going to help us to grow our economy. Therefore, it's very important for South Africans to vaccinate in their numbers for us to be able to get into a normal setting where tourists can come to South Africa, where investors can be here, and people can go back to work, and we will be able to maximize productivity levels in the country, leading to economic growth.
Ms. Tobias, notwithstanding the importance of the discussions that you are currently having, particularly as it speaks to, vaccinations, what are some of the issues that we are currently facing now in as far as attracting that investment that you speak of? We have the situation with the UK that we've just mentioned earlier, the red list alert, where South Africa is on this red list travel ban. What impact does that have? We also came out of a very violent unrest in the country where hundreds of people were killed, and that probably also spoke volumes to potential investors. We
are clarifying to our investors that violence took place in 2 provinces, which is KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. And if you look at the impact in the last quarter, there was 1.6% economic growth, which is to us a development and change towards achieving our economic goals. Therefore, the challenges that we have, it's how South Africans start to believe in the possibility of building one message as a united country and also work towards achieving our goals.
Let's talk about the importance of the forum that you're currently having. The obvious question would be, what next? What happens after this conference? I know that one of your panelists, Business Unity President, Mr. Bonang Mohale, was part of the panel today as well. Now, earlier, not too long ago, after the recent unrest, in fact, in the country, he was quoted as saying, we are in a world, or we are known as world champions when it comes to developing plans, but absolutely hopeless and woefully inadequate in the doing, in the execution. So what are the next steps following this forum that you are hosting?
One of the main themes of #Believe in South Africa is to make a reflection, to rebuild, and to reassure. And I can tell you, those investors that were sitting in the meeting made a reflection, but they understood the importance of rebuilding. Therefore, they made a suggestion that they will engage government to be able to show what commodities, if diversified, will be able to build the economy. So we're susceptible to those recommendations that will come. So we're very pleased that they accept that they need to participate. Therefore, they accept that public-private partnership is important for us to succeed as a nation.
Now, you speak about rebuilding, and I'd like you to unpack a little bit about what that would look like. I mean, we know that at the moment we are world number one, or if not in the top list of unemployment rate at 44%. And I mean, youth unemployment rate moved from 74.7% to 74.9%, we heard earlier this year. So what are some of those steps that you are hearing, investors talk about in terms of rebuilding this country? Where do we even begin?
It was very interesting to listen to Naspers when he spoke about his digital skills training program, where they've invested millions of rand to make sure that young people receive digital skills. But also we've heard how people are prepared to invest money in the country to make sure that there's economic growth. These are the commitments made by the private sector, and government, through its regulatory framework, will create an enabling environment, and it has incentives to make sure that this continues.
Now, one of the reasons as Brand South Africa, one of your mandate and the reason you exist probably is, to build this country's image and its reputation and its prospects as a unity and as an entity. When you look at some of the things that are happening internally in the country, what are some of the programs that you have formulated as an entity, as Brand South Africa, and maybe take us through some of those plans?
First, we are going to advocate the vaccination program because it's very key to South Africa and to government in general, because we understand, even business itself has articulated that if we do not get the vaccination program right, investment will continue to lower. So that's the first step. The second step, we need to make South Africans to understand the need to communicate a narrative positive to what we have achieved as the country and what we are going to achieve. There's a lot of investment in infrastructure development. The president has announced that. And the investment conference is coming, which is going to evaluate and reflect on what it has achieved so far. So government will be announcing that at the next investment conference.
As a run-up to the elections, I know you had an initiative that you launched some 10 years ago. It's called Play Your Part. South Africans at the moment are at a crossroads in terms of, what has been happening in the country over the past 20 years or so in terms of service delivery and so forth. How has this program that you've launched 10 years ago, how is it developing? And is it reaching the people it is intended to reach?
Play Your Part is one of our most important programs. We've got activations in all provinces. They might have been halted by the lockdown, but through our social media, we keep on communicating with South Africans about the need for social cohesion, but the need to participate in the South African economy, but also to make sure that we continue to portray the country in a positive light, because yes, indeed, South Africa is inspiring ways.
How are you doing that as Brand South Africa? I know that at the moment you still have an acting CEO, following Kingsley Makubele's resignation or him being fired not too long ago. Some saying Brand SA is in a leadership crisis. How are you doing internally in terms of appointing the right people, making sure that some of the plans that are in place and initiatives that are in place, even the discussion that you're having today, takes off and we attract the investors we want to attract in this country, and we start to rebuild this brand?
Mr. Mahlasela Makubela's term of office came to an end. His contract was not renewed because it was not a renewable contract. Currently, we're having an acting CEO, namely Sithembile Ntombela, doing a very good job as an acting CEO. Therefore, Brand South Africa has never experienced crisis. The issues that Mr. Makubela was faced with happened before even this board could come into place in 2019. Therefore, his contract came to an end. As a brand organization, we, as Brand South Africa, does not have challenges. We are only having a moratorium on the filling of vacancies because of the configuration process by government to merge government entities to try and curb the budgetary constraints that are in place. Like any other institution affected by reconfiguration, we are awaiting the process to finish by next year. And I strongly believe Brand South Africa will emerge as a stronger organization, since our mandate is very unique that of marketing, protecting the reputation and image of this country, and communicating on behalf of the country.
Ma'am, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really do appreciate it. Brand South Africa Board Chairperson Thandi Tobias.